8:16. And is there any public comments on closed session items? None? No public comments, so we will go into closed session 4:16 p.m. We are going to call the meeting back to order at 6:13. And if we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And if I can get an approval of the agenda?
Move to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, Trustee Garrison moved to approve the agenda. Trustee Candelaria Orr second the motion. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And no one is absent. Okay, so we are moving on to public comments on items not on the open session agenda. And I have one for Sonia Sutherland. Oh, sorry, let me read the thing. Members of the public who wish to be heard by the board are asked to complete a public comment card online or in person prior to the meeting. Once recognized by the board president, speakers should come to the podium introducing themselves for the record before addressing the board. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per speaker per topic unless modified by the board, and 20 minutes per topic unless the time is extended by the board president. Although no action shall be taken by the board on any item not listed on the agenda, the board may briefly respond to statements made or questions posed. Additionally, a board or staff member may ask a question for clarification. If a member of the community wishes to distribute materials to the board, they will give materials to the board clerk for distribution. We may disagree, but we will be respectful of each other. All comments will be directed to the issue at hand and addressed to the school board. Personal attacks are unacceptable. School board meetings are working meetings. Our meetings are intended to be safe and welcoming to the community while also serving the needs and priorities of the school district. We will listen to all comments and points of view with respect. We will treat each other and members of the public with respect and consideration regardless of differences in background, opinion, values, belief, race, age, identity, or language. All members of the public are expected to demonstrate the same respect and civility toward the board and each other. Sidebar or distracting audience conversations will be moved outside. The board must be able to conduct its business on behalf of the district. Per Government Code Section 54953.5, if members of the audience wish to film during the meeting, they must stand to the back or side of the audience so as not to block, interfere, or otherwise disrupt participation in and execution of the business of the meeting. And before we begin, I just want to introduce our interim, Ms. Steve Jorgensen, and he is here with us for the rest of the year. With that, now we'll move on to our public comment from Sonia Sutherland.
Hi.
Thank you.
I just wanted to, first of all, I wanted to thank,
Up to the podium. Thank you.
I wanted to thank the library managers for the middle school and the high school, Ron Knowles and Kathleen Lynn, for partnering with us, the Cloverdale Library, I'm the Teen Services Librarian at Cloverdale Library, for partnering with us in bringing students and on-campus book clubs to the middle school and the high school. They've been very helpful in collaborating with us and bringing those to the students. I also wanted to let everybody know that our Children's Services Librarian is back. He had been gone for a while. He's now back. John, he's back. And so we're ready to start up class visits again if you guys want to do more class visits. I'm also available to do class visits and research assistance in your classrooms. We also wanted to let you know that we have a college financial aid workshop coming up. It's presented in partnership with 10,000 Degrees, and that's going to be coming up on February 28th. I have some information on that if anybody's interested. We have ongoing Wednesday afternoon activities for teens and tweens, anime club, Pokemon March 1st, we have a frame printing workshop with a local artist who is, she specializes in doing, I don't know if you've seen this article from Levels. She specializes in doing,
Sorry, guys.
Have you been able to hear me all right?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
We can hear you, just the internet couldn't.
Okay, sorry. She specializes in doing these beautiful patterns that you might see on like alebrijes. So she will be working with teens on March 1st. So anybody from the public is welcome to sign up for that class. That's March 1st. That's the frame art workshop. And we do intend to bring back homework help. I would like to talk, if you have any suggestions or comments, or if you'd like to collaborate with us on bringing back homework help, talk to me or John at the library, and we'd love to work with you guys and see where we can fill in that need. We don't want to duplicate anything that you guys are already doing at the schools, but we would love to help out in any way that we can. And that's it. Also, I have cards and any kind of information that you want. Feel free to, I'll hand them to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Whatever you want to do. Is everything up? Thank you.
And before I forget, I forgot to announce that this meeting is being recorded at the direction of the board. Moving on to our closed session reportable action taken, H1. During closed session, we approved public employment for certificated classified and management, and we also approved public employment for discipline, dismissal, and release. And that list is available up here for anyone they would like to see it. It'll be with Kathleen. And moving on to District Spotlight. I-1.
We have Nicole Odell with us, and she will be joined by Jacob Ramirez. And I keep seeing people stand up, so I'll just say names. Dr. Goyle and, yeah, Renee stood up too, so thank you. Renee Duvander, welcome.
You guys want the time? Oh, no. Oh, I was like, sorry. Okay.
Good evening, everybody. District Spotlight tonight. We are spotlighting our English Learner Academy. If you remember from the fall, myself and my team of the total of 5 of us, Dr. Goyle, Ms. Duvander, Mr. Ramirez, and Ms. Noyes. She would like to be here tonight, but she's not feeling well. She's under the weather. So we wanted to come back and tell you what did we find when we went to the EL Academy and where are we going from here. So first, I wanted to talk to you for a moment about CALSA, what their purpose, what our mission and our need was to go to the academy. So what is CALSA? CALSA stands for California Association of Latino Superintendents and Administrators. It is not just for Latino superintendents and administrators. It's for anyone that would like to work to address the needs of Latino, Latina students through education, advocacy, and professional development. This was the first of its kind for CALSA. They developed a 5-module academy that really was to address the EL roadmap. We chose to attend because, one, we haven't aligned to the English Learner Roadmap that California put out several years ago. Our English Learner Master Plan was in need of a revise, which the initial one came to you earlier in the year. We're seeing an increasing need in our community a larger number of English learners and an increasing amount of newcomers at all age levels. We knew that if we went, that our students would benefit. One is puts a spotlight or district-wide focus on our systems. What strategies are we going to use to meet the need of our English learners, and how to implement the EL roadmap. And we knew that we would get some takeaways. And that's what my team will focus on tonight, is what did they take away, and what can we start doing right now. So I'm going to highlight the areas of our takeaways, and then they're going to take their turns. So the first piece is that we walked away with the English Learner Toolkit that gave us the 4 principles of the roadmap, and that is leveled for each site level. We learned about parent engagement versus parent empowerment. We learned about how to integrate things into our classrooms, and how to differentiate pathways to improve our student outcomes. So we're going to start with Ms. Duvander and the toolkit.
Did you want to give them the toolkits to look at? Yes. Okay. So this was one of my favorite takeaways, so that's why I get to talk about it. So the toolkit is something we get to bring back to introduce the 4 principles to our staff. It breaks it down for each grade level span, and it actually breaks it down exactly by our school site. So there's the elementary, the middle school, and the high school grade spans. It's put it into user-friendly language for that grade span, and it provides like a self-assessment for the teachers to use. So they can look at their own practices and see what they're doing in their classrooms, or what they could be doing in their classrooms or around campus at the school. For example, it takes principle 1, which says assets-oriented and needs-responsive schools, which on the surface, you don't necessarily know what that means. And it looks at each sentence of this huge paragraph that the EL roadmap lays out, and it breaks it down into indicators and then examples of what that could look like. So one of the indicators in the toolkit says the school provides a welcoming and safe environment. And then an example would be multilingual signs greet students and direct families and visitors around campus. So is that something that our schools have currently, or is that something that we could put up? And it's a really simple thing for us to self-assess. Another thing that's in the checklist is the classroom is inclusive, affirming, and welcoming. And one of the examples was the visuals on the walls reflect the cultures and languages of the students. And so each teacher can reflect on looking around their classroom. Are the visuals on their walls reflective of their student population? Is the languages reflective of the languages the students speak at home? The school climate supports bilingualism. And one of the examples says teachers learn and use key phrases in the languages of the students. And so is that something we're encouraging our teachers to do? You know, like here at Cloverdale, luckily, some of these schools had multiple languages at their campuses. We're pretty bilingual here in Cloverdale. So our teachers really only would have to learn one other language to pick it up. So how are we encouraging teachers in our district to pick up a second language? And what could we be doing to encourage that? And how could we be encouraging that bilingualism as an everyday practice in our classrooms? And what this does for our students is it builds this value of their culture, of everyone's culture, that we value their assets and of everybody, of each and every student. And I know that many of our teachers are already doing these things. And so this toolkit and this checklist is only going to be a way that teachers can look for what they're doing well and what more they could be doing. To make connections with students, build relationships with our students, it's how we're going to strengthen our schools, build better school climates. I really appreciate the fact that it values the bilingualism. We are so close here in Cloverdale to really being able to have a bilingual schools. Our students are there. We just got to get our staff there. And implementing these things is just going to help our schools. And so I think it's great. So I really liked the toolkit, and I look forward to sharing it with the staff.
Thank you.
Thank you, Renee. I do want to mention when you're looking through those toolkits, when she mentioned that they took it sentence at a time, the elementary, middle, and high school are different because they went to elementary teachers and had them pull it out and give examples. They went to middle, had them pull out the text and give examples what it would look like in their classroom. To high school teachers and had them do it, which I think is very powerful because it's teachers doing it, not me, admin level looking down, right? Okay. Our next piece, did I skip one? Nope, okay. Parent engagement and empowerment.
Thank you. I'm here to talk about parent engagement and empowerment. And I really valued so much this entire academy, but especially the last weekend when we heard from parents and students about the importance of student voice, parent voice. And this really hit home to me because, as you know, in our WASC self-study, one of our goals is to increase parent voice, to increase parent engagement. And what I took away from that weekend was we need to change that word engagement to empowerment. That it's not enough to engage, but we need to empower. We need to help our parents and our community understand our programs and what they should be looking at our programs. When we did a needs assessment at the ELAC with our ELAC parents, one of the things they actually said as a need was helping them understand the standards, helping them understand the programs. What should they be looking for in a quality program? What should they be looking for in assessment? So again, we're talking about empowering our parents and our community. Mediating parent engagement. There is a statewide parent engagement framework, which I linked in there, and then establishing the culturally responsive family partnership practices. So really looking at the culture of our students and engaging the culture, the familial wealth, other aspects of cultural practices in our program. And we do that in conjunction with our parent community. The impact for students is that they have more support at home. It is a 24/7 support in learning, and the parents feel confident in their ability to support. And in that regard, I know for the needs assessment, parents asked for a parent university. So we are looking at PK or P21. And it's not about engagement, it's about empowerment. The first strand is about teaching the parents and coaching them up to then take over and be the coaches themselves, so they are truly involved in being those advocates in the community for the schools and how to support student learning. So parent engagement and empowerment, I think we all know the power of parents' involvement. It is now getting out there and really bringing them in and helping them be a part of and a partner with, so that they are empowered to make a difference at home as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Goyle. So our next piece was developed by Heather Noyes. You didn't do integration, right? No, okay. So I'm going to just briefly speak about it, and hopefully at some other point she'll be able to really come in and talk about it. But what our one Saturday session was about was how do we integrate this into classrooms? What are good examples? And we had the opportunity to split into elementary and high school and really look at how do those programs look differently. So when we went to the elementary, I went with Heather Noyes, and we talked a lot about reading, a lot about journaling, and how to engage students at that young level. And as you see, why is it relevant? We can celebrate their biliteracy. Some of the examples they gave was they read a book in English, went through all the steps of learning reading with repetition, read aloud, etc. But the next activity was they had the students write in their own language a similar book and illustrate it. So the kids were fully engaged in creating a written book in their language that they could take home. So those were some of the examples we were able to do. Impact, obviously, we're engaging our students, we're providing scaffolding, and high expectations. What I wanted to show, if it'll allow me to, is one of the things that she has brought back to her classroom and has already started to try out was interactive journals. And what was unique about this, a lot of teachers use interactive journals, was how we proceeded to watch it happen. So the student would write in their journal, illustrate, and the teacher would respond. And when they would respond not by correcting what the student wrote, like grammar and spelling, but as a full conversation. Kathleen, can you click maybe? I'm hoping it'll work.
Hello, I am doing well this morning. Thank you for asking. How are you? Hello, how are you doing? What is your favorite color? Hi, I am well. Thank you. My favorite colors are blue and green. And you? My favorite colors are blue and red. I play soccer with friends at the park.
So they're responding.
Sounds like so much fun.
The research that was done on this interactive journal where you're writing to where you want the student to be, not to where the student is at, shows that they actually get to proficiency much quicker. And it's an engaging piece where you can spend a moment with each student in class and you have that connection, you build that relationship every day. So that was one example that she's already brought back to the newcomer groups that she's running and to some of her scaffolded ELD groups. So she wanted to share that with us tonight. Were you in on that session too? No, okay, I wasn't sure. So the next piece is our differentiated pathways for improved student outcomes.
Yeah, I just realized how busy my slide is. Like one slide to get everything in. So at the very top, so differentiated pathways for improved student outcomes. What does it mean? We have multiple opportunities to reach kids. Multiple. And that's sort of the beauty of the roadmap is it's not only in the big vision of how do we get kids to get where we want them to be, how do we get them to become proficient? It's what's the roadmap? What are the stepping stones to get us there? So at the very top, I just had it illustrated because I'm a teacher. But starting off with CALSA, we had an opportunity to learn from experts. The Interactive Dialogue Journal is a beautiful example of exactly what it means to not exactly take our time and cross out every comma that's not appropriate, but it's relationship building, looking at culture, and so that very strategy is an expert strategy. Now we have that capacity, we have that power in our district. Gorgeous, beautiful, right? So experts offer systems and strategies. We have those. We have the toolkits. We were the team, so we are the CUSD team, and we share, and now we go back and we go, okay, so how can we implement this? What is this going to look like at our sites? Now we start the process of implementing. What does it look like in terms of getting our kids ready to take the LPAC, the SBAC? What does that look like in terms of creating sentence starters, bilingual sentence starters? So if we build that capacity and kids have that sort of community of learning, Well, then kids learn and they reclassify, and that's where we get our kids to succeed. In the green area, so look into the white body of the slide, just to make sure that we get the vocabulary right of who we're talking about. We're talking about newcomers. 34.4% of our student body in CUSD are newcomers. 1 out of 3. We're talking about these very strategies and systems to help change the trajectory of the lives of our kids. That's what we're talking about. That's the deep impact we're talking about. So newcomers, of course, are brand new. They're learning not only a new language, a new culture, and a system to operate, and their parents are doing the same. English learners, 2 to 5 years, and then we have a term for our students who are here for over 6 years and who have not reclassified, not tested out. We call those LTELs, long-term ELs. So just sort of very briefly, now on the bottom left, students succeed when we implement the following, when we include their voices and cultures. So going back to the dialogue journal, a kid that can talk about mom's cooking, a kid that can talk about the games that they play that are culturally relevant, all of a sudden, it's more meaningful and more impactful and has more value, okay? The blue sentence down at the bottom, supply our EL students with rich and rigorous curriculum. We don't teach kids to what we think they can do. We teach them to the absolute highest level because we know that's what we aspire for them to do, okay? Big difference. Green, support teachers with research-based EL strategies, not just with something that's going to be fun and it's going to fill the time, something that we know is going to get results. And going back to the toolkit, these are research-based strategies that we know and plans are going to absolutely and fundamentally change the trajectory of our student population. Why not? Okay, it's money well spent. Develop and articulate an aligned plan across grades. We've been there when we've gone into a class. Oh, I learned this last year. What are we doing, right? Well, if it's well articulated, then we know and we feel confident that that kid is going to have that trajectory to grow from kindergarten all the way to grade 12. So what's the impact for our kids once they reclassify? Our reclassified EL kids are scoring higher than our English-only kids. Amazing, right? Another language is a tool. It's another way of approaching knowledge for us. So the impact for our students, they feel their value. I'm important, I'm seen here, my culture is seen here. Students unlock the gateway to colleges and universities, right? That one extra class that they might have to take if they're an EL student, all of a sudden they have more freedom in their schedule to take a college prep class, to take an AP class, to take an honors class, okay? So A through G requirements are getting met. And then guess what happens? They go off to college, and then they come back to their communities and they empower their community, right? And that's exactly what we want from all of our kids. We want them to be empowered to be a positive change. So that was the sort of beauty of CALSA, the monumental power in what we did as a team. So we now have clarity, we now have a plan, and we now know that we're on our way. That's my time.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions for me or my team? It was a wonderful experience. Thank you for investing in us, and we'll be meeting in the next few weeks to develop a plan to start rolling this out and the toolkit out for self-reflection. Thank you.
Do you want these back? Thank you.
I would love those back. If you would like to borrow them, please feel free. But we bought enough for all of our teachers, so we'll need them back eventually.
Thank you, guys. Okay, so we will move on. I'll wait for Trustee Mendoza Torres. Okay, so we will move on to our consent calendar. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull from the consent calendar?
Yes, can we pull J5, please?
J2 and J10, please.
J2 and J10. Okay. Can I get a motion to approve items that we didn't pull?
I move to approve J1, J3, J4, J6, J7, J8, J9, J11, and J12.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Garrison to approve J1, J3, J4, J6, J7, J8, J9, J11, and J12. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
A second by trustee Mendoza Torres. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And no one is absent. Okay, so J2.
It's just a little complicated. I highlighted it because there was some people that were absent, so we have to do them separately. So on,
J2? Or is that J1?
oh, sorry, I meant to pull J1.
You want to amend your motion?
Can I amend my motion?
Yes. Okay, so we're going to amend the motion.
I move to approve J2, J3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 11, and 12.
Okay. And the
And
second.
I will second approving J2, J3, J4, J6, J6, 8, J9, J11, J12.
Okay, preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? And no one is absent.
I apologize. So November 16th, trustee Lopez White was absent. So I move to approve November 16th minutes.
So
I'll-
there,
I'll second November 16th, the approval of November 16th minutes.
okay, so we have a motion by trustee Garrison to approve November 16th minutes, a second by trustee Mendoza Torres. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And I'm recusing myself from approving those minutes because I was absent.
On December 7th, trustee Candelario Orr was, oh, which also means that trustee Candelario
I need to
Orr
recuse myself, obviously. I'm sorry.
on November 16th because
Abstaining, yes.
she
Oh, that's right.
was not here. She was not sworn
Okay,
in.
so let's amend the motion on that one real quick.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Complicated.
Yeah, minutes are
Same motion.
complicated.
Same motion.
Same motion, just revote.
Okay, same motion. So we have trustee Garrison made the motion to approve November 16th minutes. Trustee Mendoza Torres second the motion. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And then abstain.
And then I need to be.
Abstentions? Aye. And myself and trustee Candelario Orr.
Okay, and then December 7th, which, this one's a little bit complicated, so, because,
This one's not.
oh no, it's not complicated. So, I move to approve the December 7th minutes.
We have a motion by trustee Garrison to approve December 7th minutes.
I will second.
Trustee Mendoza Torres second the motion. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And no one is absent.
Oh, shouldn't I be
And
an abstention?
abstain.
Wait.
Yes,
And abstained,
abstain.
December 7th.
Miss
Okay.
Trustee
All right, so
Jenny.
same motion, preferential. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Abstention?
Aye.
And no one is absent.
And I move to approve December 14th, 2022, January 11th, 2023, and January 18th, 2023.
Did you do December 14th in that one?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's December 14th through January 8th.
Yes,
Okay.
all three.
And that one's-
Second.
Okay. So we have a motion by trustee Garrison, a second by trustee Addison to approve minutes from December 14th, January 11th, and January 18th. No. Yes. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And no one is absent. Okay. And moving on to J5.
These are the safety plans, and my request in keeping our language inclusive is if we can change the he, she to they, them in our safety plans for all safety plans for the Jefferson Elementary, Washington School, High School, Cloverdale High School, and JEH, Continuation High School.
Okay. Is that something that we can easily?
I've been told that the state inputs, we input the data, and the state adds the rest of it to that. But Nicole, can you speak to that?
Not for the safety plans. We do input that information, so it is possible. We just have to go in item by item to do that, which we can do if the board would like.
So it's board's direction. We can do that.
You're thinking SARCs.
That's fine. Does anyone have any?
Do you want to make a motion?
Yeah. I'll motion to approve the comprehensive safety plans for all 4 sites with the change in pronouns to they, them.
I will second that.
Okay, so we have a motion from trustee Mendoza Torres to approve item J5 with the update of changing the pronouns to they, them, and a second by trustee Candelier Orr. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And no one is absent. So that leaves us with J10. And J10 is consideration of approval of donations.
We just like to publicly acknowledge our donations that we receive. So let me get there. I'd like to thank on behalf of the district, miscellaneous donors donated $218.90 to Cloverdale High School. Cloverdale Citrus Fair donated $2,000 to the Cloverdale High School FFA. See's Candy Ships Incorporated donated $675.25 to the Cloverdale High School class of 2024. PG&E donated $5,000 to Cloverdale High School. Bring Change to Mind donated $150 to Cloverdale High School Bring Change to Mind Club. And Christy Collins donated $300 to Cloverdale High School class of 2024. So thank you for all of your donations. And with that, I move to, I motion to approve the acceptance of donations.
Okay, we have a motion by trustee Garrison to approve item J10. Can I get a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, trustee Addison, second the motion. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And no one is absent. Okay, now moving on to reports. And student board rep, do you have a report tonight?
Yes, and I think I have a presentation to pull up there, just some visuals. Is this working? Yep, that's working. Yep, there it is. I just wanted to give you guys some visuals to see kind of what I'm talking about. There's just a few events going on at CHS.
I think.
All right, so what's going on here at CHS? So on March 2nd, we have Mr. Eagle. Mr. Eagle is a Cloverdale tradition here. It's like a mock beauty pageant where it's funny because I'm in it this year, which will be pretty fun. It's myself and 7 other candidates who pretty much go up and make a fool of ourselves in front of hundreds of people, which is pretty awesome. I think you guys should attend it a lot. Some of the things we do, we'll do choreographed dancing and stuff like that. We'll answer random questions pulled from a fishbowl. We'll perform a talent and stuff like that. It's really just a mock beauty pageant just to make fun and make light of a funny experience here in high school. And that is March 2nd, so coming up pretty soon.
What time does that start?
I believe 7 o'clock, and it's open to the community. Anybody can show up. It's really funny. It's great.
And is it a fundraiser?
Yeah,
I believe so, yeah.
so bring your money. We should bring money.
Hopefully, yes, please bring your money so you can donate to an awesome charity. Okay, so another thing we have going on here is Cloverdale basketball. Now, something really extraordinary is happening this year in Cloverdale basketball. Their record is currently 16-0 in league, making them undefeated, placing us as a number 4 seed in our playoffs this year, which is really, really awesome. And their other statistics are they're 25-2, including non-league games. We lost a game to Healdsburg and then won to another team in Head Royce Oakland tournament. But yeah, they're doing an extremely great job, putting up incredible numbers, and I think whatever support they should need, which it doesn't seem like they need that much anymore. Whatever support we can give them, we should give them, because this is pretty incredible. So wrestling is also heading to NCS. So are all the other basketball teams. All basketball teams play in the NCS tournaments up here in North Coast section. Cloverdale Wrestling's doing the same. And I don't really know what's going on too much with Cloverdale Wrestling because I'm not involved and there's no stats I could find online on Max Preps. Tennis season is just starting, and track season is also just starting. And that's really it. We don't have too much here going on. It's business as usual. That's really all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and California School Employees Association, do you have a report tonight?
Good evening. I don't know about a report, but more than anything, just like to introduce myself, Carlos Jimenez. I'm the president for our local chapter, CSCA Local Chapter 170. More than anything, just wanted to welcome back Steve. We look forward to working with him and the district, of course. And at this moment, there's not much to report. Other than we look forward to working with him and hopefully addressing some issues. And that's about it. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And moving on, Teachers Association of Cloverdale.
Good evening, guys. Casey Berry, TAC membership, grievance co-chair. The teachers continue to ask for support from our district administration and school board as we navigate the challenges of that our teachers are currently facing. The staffing shortages impact our ability to do our best work, and we urge the district leadership to continue to explore all options to fill these positions, but especially those ones that directly impact student learning. Unfilled positions put a great amount of strain on all of us. Mr. Jorgensen has assured TAC leadership that he's aware of the staffing issues that Cloverdale faces and that the district is making this a priority. It is equally imperative that we work to retain the staff that we currently have. There are situations occurring which are adversely impacting specific sites and departments, and we are struggling to provide support to our new teachers. These issues leave us vulnerable to further staffing issues. We have addressed these issues with Mr. Jorgensen, and he's aware of what we need to do to get Cloverdale through these tough times. We'd like to acknowledge Trustee Addison and Trustee Mendoza-Torres for visiting Jefferson School for a coffee chat, and it was reported that there wasn't a big turnout, but that more advance notice will help, and our staff does appreciate the opportunity to talk to you guys. As far as we know, there has not been another scheduled chat, but if you provide TAC leadership with the information, we'll be happy to share it with our membership. Thank you.
Thank you.
And there is, just so you guys know, there are some coming up. I know they're on my calendar, so we need to get those out to everybody because we have every site scheduled. And we have with other units as well. So they're definitely on our calendar and they're coming up. So we'll make sure we get those out.
Okay, and going into board members' individual committee reports.
I'll start with our DLEC meeting. I finally got to go to a meeting now, so I've actually something to share out at least. It was a wonderful experience getting to look at the bilingual kind of like presentation of the A through G requirements. That was really lovely to see parental involvement, as well as looking at the CABE conference, not for this year necessarily, but for next year. Sounds really exciting. So those were my 2 big takeaways from last Thursday. So yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Nothing to report for me.
Thank you.
I attended the boosters meeting on February 6th. They're still looking for a treasurer. They do have one candidate in mind, but they haven't accepted the position. And they are doing a spring league this spring. So that will also be a fundraiser. At the SARB board meeting on January 19th, it was a full day. Some no-shows, some that we had to refer to the DA, and then some that we had some good communication and trying to figure out ways that we could help get them to attend school. And also on February 6th, I attended, or via my computer, an LCAP webinar that focused on what would an equity-based LCAP look like for English learners. And the people presenting, there was a lot of examples given of how they're doing that, a lot of which we're already doing. So it was reinforcement that we're continuing to do a good job, but different ways to add to it as well. So, and that is my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I attended the county trustee appreciation dinner with a multitude of trustees from around the county and their superintendents. I had the privilege to sit next to Steve Harrington and had really good conversations and speak to Amy Carter and just listen to the vision of what her vision is for Sonoma County. I also attended, along with Trustee Candelaria Orr, our DLAC meeting, and where we reviewed A through G. And I'm super excited to go to CABE with parents in the group. So that is the end of my report.
Thank you. I have nothing to report on committee. Our school and city subcommittee meetings seem to keep falling on holidays, so we don't have one for February. And I would just like to address the coffee chats. Apologize. We did have some scheduled. Jenny and Candelaria Orr and I did show up to Washington with the previous superintendent leaving and some other leaves. There was just a lot going on and they didn't get advertised. So we've talked about it. We are going to get those out and resume them. Other than that, I have nothing else to report tonight.
Can I say one thing I forgot? I did attend the WASC, and it was really amazing to see the work that the high school did. It's a team effort, and I was really proud of what I saw there.
Thank you. And moving on to our superintendent report.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be back in Cloverdale, and it's been fun to visit sites and renew acquaintances and also get to know our new staff. So I've enjoyed that, and principals, thanks for letting me go on your campuses and take the time to introduce myself, but also meet staff. In closed session, you approved the retirement of Stephanie Alexander, and she's in the front row right here, and she's our Student Support Services and Special Ed Director. I truly appreciate what you do in staying on through June. I do appreciate that too, since that's when I'll be here. So, take care of that. We also hired a HR manager, Sochi Pardo, who is in Windsor Unified. She manages all classified personnel and she supports certificated personnel. So we're really happy to have her on board, and she will start somewhere around after the Easter break full time, but we'll have her part of the time in a couple weeks. So look forward to having Sochi back in Cloverdale. At one time, we had the WASP, which is a accreditation the high school was going through. We had FPM, Federal Program Monitoring, at Jefferson, and we had the SIMS, which is the compliance review that Stephanie and her crew is heading up. That's a lot going on in one district at one time, and I applaud everybody that participated in that to get through it, because we came through in flying colors, as Preston said, enjoyed the WASC, and had a chance to talk to them when they were exiting the parking lot. I've had an opportunity to serve on WASC, and you hear the stories about, there have been times when they've given the report to the staff and had their cars started, backed up in the parking lot, and were ready to take off when it was done. But in talking to these two, they were dragging their feet leaving Cloverdale, which was a great thing. They said, this is such a great feel. When you take somebody who is in a city opening up a brand new school who says, I like your facilities, I like your technology, I like your staff, I like your students, that's a great thing, and I appreciate that. It happened to be my 6th day in the district, and I took all the credit for it, so thank you. I appreciate that. We are taking a heavy-duty look at our student attendance, and I look at Jim Evans back there, because I think you said you sent out something like 138 letters, 173 letters you've already met. At least this morning you had met with 58 people, or 56. So trying to work hard at holding those meetings with parents and talking to them about the effect of missing school and what it means down the road. And I appreciate you doing it at Jefferson, because I know our other principals are trying to have those conversations too, and it all starts when they start school at Jefferson. So thank you. We've been talking about summer school, and Nicole is heading up, putting summer school together. We will offer that again, 4 weeks, and the high school will be 6 weeks. We are busy trying to recruit staff, seeing what we need, and planning on and doing recruitment fairs. We're going to hit them pretty heavy, real heavy, to try to get out early and often and be prepared to make an offer when we see the top candidates that we have. So we're sending a team to do that. Tomorrow is Professional Development Day. We will focus on ELD, English Language Development, and it starts at 8:15, I believe, is when breakfast is served.
8 o'clock start breakfast, 8:30 speak.
That was the first quiz with her to see if she had my back. So it's 8 o'clock, not 8:15. And yeah, my speech will be at 8:30. It'll be about 25 minutes. So if you want to come for that, it won't be 25 minutes. You can bet on that. And then my last thing is migrant education. Will be returning here again this year. Met with them, talk about the Adelante program, which is offered at Santa Rosa JC for our 7th graders through 12th graders. We were trying to arrange busing to get down there, and I appreciate them being back here. That's my report.
Thank you. So with that, we can move on to our report and discussions. Item L1, our Measure H update.
Kevin Little joins us again from Van Pelt Construction Services. Welcome back, Kevin, to talk about Measure H, which was the $46 million bond that was passed in 2018.
Thank
Take it
you
away,
very
Kevin.
much. Appreciate that introduction. It's nice to see everybody. I don't get to see you as often as I used to. So hopefully we can change that in the near future. I would like to say, Student Board Rep, Mr. Eagle is very dear to my heart because my illustrious career, having given hundreds of speeches to roundtables, seminars, conferences, etc., I have made a complete fool of myself many times. So my advice to you is it may be your first, but it won't be your last. So just enjoy yourself. Okay, we continue our weekly OAC meetings, which has been absolutely awesome for the last couple of years. It helps us get instant decisions, and we're working hand in glove in our seamless interface when we need decisions and advice and direction, so we really appreciate that. Currently, our current projects that we discussed at our February 7th OAC meeting, our Washington sunshade structure, we continue to have discussion with the DSA rep. She now wants us to work towards new pathways in front of the school as opposed to renovating the ADA bathrooms. So we had advised Kelder Engineering to take a look at that and present his revised drawing to us. and get that into DSA and see if we can get this package approved. Currently, it's 8 weeks to 10 weeks for the sunshade structure once we order it and approve it. District headquarters, weather dependent. We still have the final coat to go on the roof and also some additional crickets. Same at Jefferson, we have a final coating for the roof on the library. I'm working with Garland and West Tech and the district facilities rep, Rick, and we're hoping to have a final punch list walkthrough on March 7th. The Southfields projects, Kelder Engineering and Dudek were at our last meeting and gave us a presentation. I did something a little different in this update. I took the last couple of emails and just verbatim copied what was said in those emails. I was getting a little bored with what I was putting down every month too. So hopefully read that. It kind of gives you an insight to where we're at. We had an excellent review meeting. We've asked them to go back and revise and submit the drainage channels, and they are going to come back and present on March 7th as well, both Kelder and Dudek. So thank you for the input on those. And then in addition, we're working on a facility master plan. I believe we have about $3 million left in the Measure H right now. So working with Van Pelt and King Consulting on how to appropriate that last few million and also push us towards getting us hopefully new funding from the state. And that's where we're at right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay, and moving on is item L2, our LCAP update.
All right, so tonight I'm going to give you an update on the California dashboard and our LCAP goals. And we're going to start with, what does the dashboard look like this year? So because we're coming out of COVID, the California dashboard normally gives us those red, orange, green dials and those things. But that's because it compares current year data to the previous year. We're coming out of COVID where not everyone had to take the CASP. They could do a local benchmark instead. So there's no data to compare it to. So for this year only, they moved to this type of graph. And very low is bad, with a little tiny, and it moves to being very good. Except for a couple things that are swapped, and I'll tell you about that in a moment. So for academic performance, what they look at is English language arts, how we did on the CASP exam, that's 3rd through 8th grade, plus 11th grade. Mathematics, same grade levels. English learner progress, this is based on the LPAC exam, and whether students went up a level, down a level, stayed the same level in their LPAC scores. College career indicator was not reported this year. They're revamping it. Plus with some of the changes because students who missed out in units during COVID, the graduation requirements are slightly changed and there's a rolling effect there. And then the local indicators, which is basically we give a verbal response and we met all those standards because we responded to the indicators. So for CASP, what I wanted to do was give you our scores, but also the state scores, because I think that's really important to put it into context because across the state, all scores were very low this year. So in our English language arts, and this is all students, I didn't give you the breakdown. I didn't want to take that much time right now, but I could do it in the future if you would like. For all students, we were about 56.7 points below standard. The state was on average 12.2. We're both in the low rating. The spans for points is pretty broad. So we weren't the very lowest in the state, but we're still in the same band as the average. In math, we're 90.1 points below standard. And you can see in the state, 51.7 points below. I'll delve a little deeper into this when I talk about the LCAP. For English learner progress, for our students, 39.9% are making progress towards English language proficiency, meaning that they grew when they looked at LPAC scores, which is considered low. The state was medium at 50.3% making progress. In the past, we have been in the 50% ranges. For academic engagement, that chronic absenteeism that Mr. Jorgensen was talking about, see, this is where it swaps. Our rates are very high, which is very bad compared to the flop of very low. So that's confusing. But I want to say we're not far off from the state. We're 34.3% chronically absent. The state on average last year was 30%. So we're not out of the ballpark in what everybody is experiencing with requirements to stay home. You know, if you had COVID, we went from like 14 days that you were out if you were exposed or anybody in the household to 5 days, and all those requirements. If you weren't collecting independent study and making up some of those absences, you were going to have chronic absenteeism if a kid had a sniffle. Our graduation rates, we are above the state graduation for last year at 89.4% versus 87.4% for the state. So yay, we beat the state. For conditions, climates, two things really are looked at: suspension rates, and this is another one where it's swapped, right? If you have high suspension rates, that gives you a lower score. We were at 7.7% suspended at least one day. What that means is we had 7.7% of our students suspended at least once for a day. It doesn't take into account if one student did multiple suspensions, okay? They were suspended 5 times for a total of 10 days or whatever. In the state, it was 3.1%, and they were a medium. I will say to get the highest score on suspension rate, you had to be less than 1% suspension rate for a district, which is very hard to achieve district-wide. So I don't think we were doing too bad considering coming back, behavior that we were seeing across the state, etc. Our standards for local were all met. We talked about our basics, our parent-family engagement, and we did a local climate survey. So what I briefly want to say as we're going into the LCAP season is give you some of the data that we have been collecting over the last few months. So our first goal is looking at instruction, and very long description. Basically, we want all students to get rigorous, high-quality instruction that we use assessment to differentiate that instruction so that all students can succeed. The metrics that are in our LCAP and that we are able to report upon tonight, because we have numbers, include the following. Here's Jefferson. So two metrics we use is reading comprehension and writing at grade level. And you can see our CASP data and our STAR reading levels. So what's important here is we are looking at mid-year progress right now. We don't know what our CASP scores will be in 2023, right? So this is last spring. But you can see our baseline was in 2019. And we have fallen. The state fell quite a bit too, right? We went down about 20 points. States went down 10 points. Remember that impact of COVID year. Our STAR reading scores actually are better than they were in 21. So a year and a half later, we have more students above or at grade level in reading. For writing, this is an area we are working on right now, developing rubrics. So they chose for the LCAP to use our CASP data, and we're working on getting writing rubrics in here. So we should have a better metric soon to really look at that writing piece. The CASP does require writing to happen, but it doesn't tease it apart. So you have the reading and writing piece in there. So mixed messages from STAR versus CASP. And that might just be, how do we get our kids to test on CASP? Are they familiar with the computer system? Do they know how to use the tools? So we're going to be working on that coming up to CASP. For Washington, there are 2 metrics that we use for rigorous instruction. The first is growth in reading and math using the STAR report. And our baseline was that we were growing just under a year's growth in a year. Right now at mid-year, we're less than mid-year growth, so we have some gains that we need to make. This is on average across all grades at Washington. And then our CASP scores, you can see they also dipped just like the state as well. So same message, CASP really had an impact by COVID. Our high school, we have several metrics for goal 1. The first is graduation rate. Our baseline was 86.8, and we are now at an average of 92.2 with all sub-areas above 90%. So we have raised several of our subgroups to be above 90. So that is great news. Congratulations. Our CASP scores for ELA and math, just like we saw in our other areas of sites as well as the state, we did fall in those ELA and math, which doesn't surprise you since you saw the dashboard. In STAR reading and math, we also are seeing some slow growth there. And that's a discussion of how are we utilizing that data and how do we move forward with the STAR reading. Our A through G rates, baseline was 43%. This kind of goes up and down because we're so small, right, with the number of students. We're 40% in 2022. We're A through G. And on track right now, like 2 days ago when I talked to Catherine, we're at 48% that will graduate A through G. So that's up. AP scores, this was outstanding. I want to do a little celebration dance on this one. Baseline was 52 students were enrolled in AP with a 31% score of 3 or higher. Generally, 3 or higher means you get the college credit. We have 91 students enrolled right now. We've almost doubled in 2 years. Last year, we had 73 students enrolled, still a much higher rate, right? But we went up to 58% scoring a 3 or better. So our scores in APs are going up, and the number of students engaged in those college classes are going up. Our CTE pathway completion, our baseline was 18 students, and last year was 19 students. For goal 2 is focused on giving support to English language learners. And I wanted to highlight a few things. And these metrics are the same for each site. So we wanted to, I just kind of combined them for us. So we have increased our reclassification rate in some schools. In Jefferson, we were at 8% in 2021. 21-22, we were at 8%. We're now at 10% with 21 students being reclassified this year. Washington, we were at 8%. Last year, with some of the things that were going on at Washington, we didn't get everybody reclassified and all the documents signed. So this year, we will have 7% graduating, reclassifying. CHS had, in 2021, had a larger population with 18% reclassified, 23% last year. And then this year, we have 0% reclassifying. We have a large number of students coming up as 9th graders that I will be meeting with next week, along with my ELD coordinator, and we're going to be teaching them about the test, what items to expect, what level is a 4, right? One of those tips to tell them is, if you thought you were done writing, write at least one more sentence more. You can add something. Our LPAC scores, during the data is kind of limited in COVID. Some students get tested, or they might have been tested at home, or they got missed. So our mid-year progress, when we're looking at it, our Jefferson have 56.1% of ELs making progress. Washington 25.2, and CHS at 16.7. What we want to see is a huge percentage at Jefferson, because that's where we should be reclassifying most of our students as they're entering Washington or in that first year. And then with our SEAL biliteracy, We had 24 students in 2021, 16 students last year that earned the seal. And then our last goal, social emotional learning and intervention. This data is a little harder to pull because they're stored in different areas, and sometimes people enter data differently. So like office referrals, if they're not entered in ARIES or they're under discipline versus assertive discipline, which to those not familiar, that's like, what? There's two different areas. It's harder to pull the data. So right now, the big message here is our suspension rate is down. Our attendance rates are down, but they're above 90%. Our chronic absenteeism continues to be an area that we need to address. We were about 34, 35% last year on the California dashboard, and we're still heading there this year. So we are looking at an attendance campaign. Thank you. From SIM, that's one of our directives that we're going to be moving towards, getting that positive message out there that school is where you need to be to learn. And so hopefully these rates will change and go down, right? Because we want the absentee to go down. But our overall attendance rate is still above 90%, which is good. We'll be setting up our LCAP meetings shortly and a schedule to start looking deeper at these goals and changes we want to make in actions. But now you have some data to start thinking about of where we want to address in the actions. Is there any questions?
No, I'm okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and moving on to our superintendent search update. It has you listed, but if you want to introduce him.
Welcome back, Scott. Scott Mahoney, Mahoney Consulting Services.
Something like that.
Close to that, huh?
Hey, it's great to see you. I think you guys are so lucky to have this guy. I've known him a long time, and
That's not a plant.
he's
so
one of
go
the best superintendents I've seen along the way in my career. So I'm glad you're here, Steve. They need you here. So thanks for having me tonight. The purpose of the meeting tonight is to summarize the input that I gathered from everyone in your district and your community that leads to a suggested profile for you to look at as you're interviewing candidates. So did this go out to everybody in the district yet, the report? No. Okay. So how do I make this? There we go. Okay. Whoa. Okay, go back to the group of people. So I spoke to over 60 people one-on-one, which was amazing. I think almost everybody in this room, except maybe a student or two. I apologize I didn't get to the students, but I think I met with everybody else in this room, and then a whole lot more. And I also was able to go to a Rotary Club meeting last week and meet with Rotarians and get their input, and actually several of them did email me or respond to the survey, so that was great to see. So when I met with these people, I asked them 4 questions. What's awesome about the district? What are some areas for growth in the district? What would a perfect new superintendent look like to you as I'm speaking to you? And then is there anybody that you want me to pursue and encourage them to apply? So if you scroll up a little bit there, Kathleen.
Down.
Down, I'm sorry. So I'll go through these quickly, the comments. So what I did is I only listed comments in each of those sections if I heard the comments from multiple people. So if one person told me something, you're not going to see that there. If 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 people told me something, you'll see that comment listed in the report. So scroll further, please. So you just get a glimpse of the comments there. Can you make that bigger so people can see? No? Okay. We'll put this on the website tomorrow, the report. There's 2 versions of the report. One report is for the public, and that report has comments that are obscene or could get the district in legal trouble, redacted. The board has the copy with all of the comments in them. So keep scrolling. Those are comments about what's amazing, some areas for growth. There were a lot of suggestions about what could be better in the district. Everybody thinks it's an amazing district, but there's a lot of thought about how could we be better, and those are listed there for you to see. And then what would an amazing new superintendent look like to you as far as their qualifications and what they are, who they are as a person? Is that bottom section there? There's a lot of thought about that, not only on the one-on-one interviews, but the survey. So a tremendous amount of input about who your district would like to see and who your community would like to see. Let me say that of 25 searches, I've never had a search where there was so much emphasis on not only finding a person who fits the district, but fits the community. So it's been really intriguing to me to hear from somebody about, can't just fit the district, has to fit our community too. Ideally live in Cloverdale and certainly be involved, even if they don't live here, that they need to be involved in more than just coming to school from 8 to 5. That was very clear from everybody. Okay, keep going. The online survey, about 150 people responded. You can go through that quickly. You can see what I did is I said if somebody said it was extremely important to have, must have, I ended that as the percent. So if you scroll to the charts, there's a lot of data there. I highlighted in yellow. So let's look at the yellow ones. So classified employees thought it's important for the person to have experience as a superintendent, not so much from parents in the community or for certificate employees. Classified employees and certificate employees thought it was very important for the person of experience working in a district with a large percentage of Latino students. Keep going. 87%, back up a little bit, of classified employees think the person should have leadership experience working in a small school district like Cloverdale. Percentages are actually very small compared to other districts. That's interesting to consider as you're reading through these. Right there, all three groups thought it's really important of having somebody come in who can work with you to increase student academic achievement, as you just saw from your reports, and also promoting and supporting students' emotional and social well-being is important for parents and for actually everybody. Keep going. Only classified employees. I think it's important for the person to have a record of success promoting, developing, and supporting CTE. Both classified employees and certificated think it's important the person has expertise with special education programs. Certificate employees think it's important for the person who has experience working with a diverse population and has a track record of implementing policies targeting issues of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Keep going. Classified employees think the person should have experience with school district funding models, like the funding model you have here. And all three groups think it's important for the person of experience fostering a culture of collaboration and professionalism in the school community. And then classified and certificated think it's really important to make sure the person has a history of working well and is collegial with unions in the district. Keep going. And so this will be interesting for everybody to read. These are the comments, and there's a lot of comments. And it's completely anonymous, so people had an opportunity to tell you, the board, what they think they really want to see in the next person and really what they do not want to see in the next person. Those X's are redacted comments. So just keep going. There's a lot of comments. I know the board has read through these, so I appreciate that. Next section is what kind of person you want as far as their personality. And most of these are kind of no duh. Of course you want somebody who's going to work hard and be honest and be a good communicator and all those sorts of things. But what this survey does is it gets people to focus on what's typically seen in somebody who's a stellar superintendent. So usually this section has almost everything highlighted. So you can go down to comments. Again, lots and lots of comments. So we're going to get to the grand conclusion. Listening to everybody in your community and your district and all of you, just go down to the end. This is what I think I've heard you say you want. As far as their qualifications, certainly be certified to be an administrator, have some teaching experience. Experience as a superintendent would be and a principal would be a plus. Some experience increasing student achievement, experience with special education law services and programs, leadership experience working in a district like Cloverdale would be a real plus. A record of success fostering a culture of collaboration and professionalism, record of success promoting and supporting students' emotional and social well-being, a history of working well with employee labor groups. Then, I mentioned before that usually superintendents make it or break it not on their qualifications but on their personality. So I spent a lot of time talking to people about the personality that you all would like to see in your next superintendent. So there's so much there in the report. I've tried to condense it, so you may want to add something here, but this is what I have so far. It's very important that the person be visible everywhere, visits all the classrooms, visits the offices, classrooms, and really engages in the Cloverdale community and gets to know everybody in the district by job and by their name. That was really important to everybody. I want somebody who's a people person, who's into relationships and has a high degree of honesty and integrity in everything they do. Someone who's visionary, who understands, supports, and enjoys the climate and culture in a small district like Cloverdale. Somebody who's very transparent, has a strong work ethic, and will work all day, every day, on behalf of Cloverdale students, their parents, employees in the community, and will only be away from the district for necessary meetings on a limited basis. That came out a lot. They don't want to see their superintendent in a small district like this away every day at meetings. Somebody who's very transparent and has a strong, I said that one, let's see, a good listener who genuinely listens to, respects, considers, and uses the input and perspective of others, and then communicates the decisions that are made widely and sticks to the decisions over time. That was a biggie for people. A leader who enjoys people and will know every employee by name and duty. I said that before, but that was really important. Some people feel like they want the superintendent to know who they are and what they do. A transparent leader who will foster and maintain a climate of trust and open, honest communication across all levels at all times. Someone who's a strong leader who knows and uses excellent conflict management skills and has strong interpersonal skills. Someone who's a team player who will support and collaborate with the administrative team. That means working closely with the principals in a supportive, collegial manner. So that's kind of a summary of what I've come up with. What do you think? Does it fit? It's kind of a unicorn, but I think we can do it. So the good news, the good news is, you know this, the board knows this, but there are 23 applicants, which is a lot of applicants. It's a lot of people who want to work for your district. And there are a lot of very well qualified. There are some that aren't strong at all, but there are many who are very well qualified and truly fit this profile. And so the board is committed to looking at this profile, and when they interview, trying to find the person that fits as many of these things as possible. So I'm very optimistic that you guys are going to have an awesome superintendent. If you let me pick right now, I'll pick one for you. So it's good news for everybody, really good news. It's going to be good. Any questions or anything?
Oh, I just thank you for all the work that you've done to help us.
It's been, it's
Yes,
been,
thank you.
I've had more fun in this district getting to know everybody. You have awesome people here. It's been great just talking to people. It's been super informative, and I haven't known Cloverdale like I do now. I'm going to come back a lot. Maybe I'll apply.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right, moving on to our discussion action items. M1, consideration and possible acceptance of the 21-22 audit report.
While Patty's setting up, I just want to say how rare it is to get no exceptions on the audit report. And congratulations to you. Well done. Very good.
Thank you. The entire district, a lot of hard workers. We have a new audit firm this year, Christie White, Certified Public Accountants. It was a very interesting process for us because it was all virtually online, so it was scanning documents. So it definitely took participation on all staff members who take part in the audit. But the outcome was good. So they did review all of our financial statements and they present fairly. They check them for material respects, respective financial position of governmental activities of each major fund, and they do that in accordance with the accounting practices generally accepted. So we did not have any audit findings this year, and all of the audit findings from last year, which there were 6 of them, have all been implemented and followed. They go back and review those to make sure that they are all presenting fairly too. So the next step after this audit will be the 2 bond audits, which will come to us next month. I believe they'll have them done by the 8th, hopefully, and those will come before you. Any questions?
Good job.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
I'll move to approve.
All
I
right.
will, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Addison to approve the acceptance of the 2021-2022 audit report, and a second by trustee Candelaria Orr. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And no one is absent. And moving on to future agenda items. Do we, if you want to.
Future board agenda items. Master planning, Alexander Valley Healthcare Student Concerns and Board Policies TK and K admissions, and Administrative Regulations 6158 Independent Study.
So one of the future agenda items that we've talked about in the past that needs to get on here is the facility use, like track and field. I know the community wants access.
So use the program.
Anything else? Okay. And with that, moving on to our future board meeting dates, and there is a lot of them in our near future. So we have March 3rd is a special board meeting, along with March 4th. Do I discuss what those are, or do I know? Okay. There's a special board meeting, so March 3rd at 7:30 a.m., March 4th at 8:30 a.m., March 8th is our regular board meeting at 6 p.m., and then March 15th is another regular board meeting at 6 p.m. And with that, can
Move
I-
to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion by trustee Garrison to adjourn the meeting at 7:40, and a second by trustee Addison. Preferential? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And no one is absent. Okay.